I'm going to now take a few minutes to talk about what's new in WordPress 6.0. Now, the newest version of WordPress is scheduled to be released 2 days from today on May 24th, and this is the second of three major releases we'll see in 2022. Now, even though this is considered a major update, it's not the groundbreaking, earth-shattering change that we saw in WordPress 5.9 when the full site editor was first released. Rather, here are just some modifications, changes, improvements, enhancements to the block editor as well as to full site editing itself. So let's have a look. And I'm going to be demonstrating all this in this pretty short video. And that is the list view tool got a lot better, as you'll see. There's now something called block locking, or the beginning of what block locking will be about. The group block got some enhancements to make it a little better to work with, as well as the gallery block has some improvements in terms of spacing between images. And now, as far as full site editing goes, now when you're talking about full site editing, of course, you need to use a block-based theme. That is a theme which lets you build every aspect of your site just by using blocks. And we have more templates. We have this tragically named comments query loop block that deals with how to set up the comments in a blog post. And here's something that's really nice. The featured image can now be used in the cover block, and I'll show you what that means and what you can do with that. And there's also style switching, which is first introduced in 6.0, as well as exporting the theme. So that's very cool. So if you create your own theme using blocks and you want to use it for another website, you can now just export that and use it for another website. Very nice. I'll show you that in 1 minute. Let's get going with the changes in 6.0. And the first to look at is the new list view. Now, the list view is really your favorite tool in Gutenberg because it lets you know where everything is. And of course, it's over here. And the difference now is when you use it, everything's going to be tucked inside of the parent container, or the main containers, if you will. So here we see we have three different group blocks, and I have to open up this little chevron over here to see the contents of this first group block. Same thing with this second group block, and also same thing with the third group block. And then some of these blocks also have further blocks within them. So it's just a lot easier now. Before, you would see the entire list of all the blocks in list view, and now it's just neatly put together in a way that just makes a whole lot more sense. Another enhancement is when I just fold this all up, if I want to multi-select a block, which I'm going to do right now, all I did was click on my mouse and hold down the shift key. What's nice is if I want to remove both of these groups, I just click on the three dots and I can click remove and they'll go away. Or if I want to move them, I can move them together as one unit, which is really nice. Couldn't do that before. Another thing is the block locking. So if, for example, let's say I'm just going to pick out this one over here and I want to lock this block, click on the three dots, either here or over here. Let's just do it over here, and where it says lock, you get this little window that says, do you want to lock all? And I do. And what that means, we're going to disable the movement, so I can't move this block, and I cannot remove it either. So I'm going to say yes, and that's it. So it's locked into place. Now I can still edit it. That is, I can still change the wording inside there. So it's not really locked in terms of you can't change the style or you can't change the content, but you can't move it and you can't remove it either from the page. I think eventually you'll be able to do everything with a lock. That is, if you lock something, you won't be able to do anything with that block. So now let's have a look at the group block, and there's some changes to this. So once I'm in the group block, make sure I am in the group block. You can see that I am. If I click on this over here, I can change to a row layout. Now, here's just one row. It has essentially 3 columns. And here's another version of the row layout, but this time the rows are stacked on top of each other. I just want to go back to the regular group block. By the way, you can see that when you're working with rows, you get some other options over here that you're not going to get if you're just going to stay in the group block like this. Okay, now, one of the main changes that came about in 6.0 is if I go over here, I can now add a border, and I'm going to do that. Let's just say I want to have a 5-pixel border. And I'm going to change the style over here. Now, you don't get very many options in terms of the styling of the borders yet, but I suspect that's going to come. You can change the color just by clicking on over here. Let's use this dark color over here. Well, let's use this color over here. All right, I'm going to use that green color, and that's fine. Again, I can just change the style by clicking on any one of these style options over here. One other change, and it's not just for the group block, but it's anything to do with color. Let's see, if I click on the group block over here, and I go to this background color, but again, what I'm about to show you applies to all color now. If I click over here, there's now a transparency slider for all of the color picker tools. So wherever you have color, whether it's for the background of a group block or any block, or the background of a heading block or a paragraph, or when you're using color for your text or color for a border, wherever there's color now, you should find a transparency slider right over here. So you can adjust the transparency very easily to your color. Now let's have a look at the changes in the gallery block. And there aren't really a whole lot, but they're kind of important, especially if you're into photography and you want to have a nice gallery and use what is available with Gutenberg. Just click over here. We're in the gallery block, and I'm going to go down to here. And there's a new function called block spacing. So I'm just going to put in, let's say, 50 pixels. And you can see I have more spacing now between my images. And I can control that. Before, there was no way to control it. You just had to accept whatever they gave you. All right, so that wraps up the main changes. Not necessarily every single change, but what I thought were the main changes in the block editor. Well, let's talk about full site editing and see what's changed there. And for that, I need to use a block-based theme, and I'm going to. And the theme I'm going to use is the default WordPress standard theme called 2022. And here it is. It's all ready to go. I'm going to go into the editor. And one of the first changes is that there are now more templates. Now, I'm going to show you that by going over here, going to templates, and not just the templates that you see listed over here, but if you go over here to add, these are new templates. So if you wanted to do a page just for your authors, you could use the authors template, and so on, categories, and there are a bunch of other templates that you can use as well. The templates that you see listed here depend on the theme that you're using, but to be sure, most of these templates are used by most block-based themes. Now for what I'm about to show you, it makes a lot of sense to use the single post template. That's the template that's responsible for how a single blog post looks like. For example, if I look over here, this is what we're talking about, just a single blog post. In this case, the famous Hello World, that has a post title, a featured image, the content right over here, which happens just to be a paragraph, some metadata information over here, and then down over here is the comments block. Okay, and all of that is being outputted thanks to the single post template, which I click on now, and I'm going to make some alterations. One of the first alterations I'm going to make is to show you the comments query loop block. What a name. If I skip down to over here, currently I'm using this block over here to output comments block. Well, let's take a look. So here's, in the list view, I see post comments, and it's deprecated, which means it's outdated. And I want to put in something more current. And what's current is something that is part of 6.0. Again, the comments query loop block. So I'm going to remove this. And right above the footer, I'm going to add that new block. So we're going to do insert before. I'm going to type in comments query loop block. And it's very similar, but it gives me some more functionality. What do I mean? If I click on this over here, I see that this block is really a container for other blocks. that I can make adjustments to. For example, right over here, the comments title, which is right over here, I can make changes to that because it is its own block. If I click on the cog, you can see I can make some of the adjustments over here, which I'm not going to do for this demonstration. And there's other blocks within the comments query loop block right over here. So the one I want to play with is the leave a reply. I'd like to have this at the very beginning of my comments section. So all I'm going to do for that is just going to roll this up or drag it up to over here. And now I'm going to save the template, and you'll see the effects would be, so here it is now, leave a reply is at the bottom. But now if I refresh the page, well, it's right after the content. If I scroll down here, here's leave a reply followed by the actual comments themselves. Of course, this format that you see would be in every blog post. That's the whole purpose of using a template. But now what I want to do is take this featured image over here and replace it with something that's going to look a whole lot better. So I am going to leave in the featured image. Here's the placeholder for the featured image for now. And right after where it says header, I am going to put in a new block. That is, I'm going to put in a cover block, which is not a new block to 6.0, but just new for this template. And so insert after, and I am going to slash cover. And here's the cover block. And I'm just going to use a color right now for that, just for the moment. And let's put in where it says write a title. Instead, I'm going to type in slash post title. That's what I want. And I'll show you how this works. Great. Now I see I have post title over here. That's fine for now. I'm going to save this. Let's have a look at what I've done. Refresh the page. Let's scroll up over here. Okay, now, yeah, it looks like a mess, but you can see here's where the cover block is. Here's where the post title is. Yeah, the post title is here too. And the featured image is over here. It's still a bit of a mess, but we'll fix that up right now. What we're going to do is remove this post title because we don't need it. And we can just remove it like this over here. Let's go down here to remove. So that's gone. This featured image, well, we don't need that either. No sense in having two of them. So we're going to remove that. And over here in the cover block, here's what's new. So I'm in my cover block like this. And here is my toolbar. And this icon here is new. So I can just click on this. And now the featured image will be occupying this entire space over here. So let's have a look by saving over here. And oh, that's much better. Now I can make adjustments for spacing over here, but this certainly looks a lot better than what I had before. If I want to, for example, let's say I wanted to centerize the text. Well, I'm going to try. Doesn't look like it's going to the center. Or maybe I want to change the color so that the post title's color for the text will be, let's just make this white. And let's see what happens. We're going to save, and we're going to save over here. Yeah, well, it stayed over here. That's fine for now. I can also make one other change here. I can change the opacity, but we don't really see the image, do we? No, because it's just a placeholder, so it's really impossible to tell. I guess if I want to change the opacity, make it a little bit darker, I'm just going to do this over here. Yeah, you can't see the image because it's just a placeholder. Let's see how that changes things. Yeah, ooh, much better. Okay, I like that a lot. Okay, so now we've made a much nicer looking featured image. And of course, where did the featured image come from? Remember, this is just a regular blog post. So the featured image must be in place right over here, as you always do. Here's where the featured image is over here. So Every single blog post would have its own featured image, and that's how this would lay out for your site. We can just go back over here. That's just fine. Okay, two other things to take a look at. One is style switching. So if I go over here to the style icon, this is new with 6.0. Click over here. So this theme has 4 different styles. And if I click on, let's say, this bluish, okay, I now have a different style, just pre-built, ready to go. And of course, I can make adjustments to any of this, but I sort of like this. And I'm going to save it, have a look, go over here, and refresh the page, and okay. Now, this style format will be on every single page. So if I clicked on another page, you'll see that the style switching applies to all the pages of the site. And the style variations I have here are totally dependent on the theme. Theme designer or author will include the style options that he or she thinks is appropriate for the theme. Last is a very interesting one that has a lot of potential, I think, and that is if you go to the 3 dots over here, here's something that's brand new. You now have the ability to export this theme and to use it for another site. Well, what's interesting, so I just clicked on here, it downloads as a zip file, and I can, of course, upload it to another website to use as my own theme, which is very interesting because now anybody can make their own theme without knowing any code, so long as they start with a block-based theme like 2022. So that's a wrap on what I thought were the major changes in WordPress 6.0. It's hardly the groundbreaking, earth-shattering changes that we saw in 5.9. Rather, it really polishes up a lot of the things that were in the previous version of WordPress, and I suspect that's the kind of thing we're going to see when WordPress 6.1 comes out.